Hi everyone, my name is Phil and welcome to Phil Does 3D. I am a multimedia and 3D artist and I stream live on Twitch on Mondays and Tuesdays at 5 PM Pacific time in the US, 10 AM in Australia or 1 AM in the UK. Remember, if you miss the live streams, you can always catch the premiere event streams, which are on a Friday and Saturday at 2 PM Pacific time in the US, 7 AM in Australia or 10 PM in the UK. I hope all you guys and girls are well. Sorry about last week, guys and girls. I had to go to the optometrist. I couldn't see my screens. It just you don't realise how bad it gets until you get some glasses and see what you've been missing. So I couldn't read my screens. I actually couldn't do any work, even for the studio, while I was waiting for my glasses to be made up. So that was an experience, let me tell you, having my computers all around me and not being able to use them. I was climbing the walls. It's different when I go to the cabin in the woods because I have no technology, so there's nothing to tempt me. But when you're surrounded by it and you can't use it, it wasn't nice. I didn't like it at all. But everything's good now. I can see everything crystal clear. And like I said in my Twitter post, it makes you feel like I've got a monitor upgrade because I have two 27-inch 2K screens. And they look like 32-inch screens now, so win-win, like I said. We're going to continue working on our Art Deco building that we're making in the Unreal Engine 4. I know Epic have just released 4.20. We're still working in 4.19.2. We're going to stay with 4.19.2 simply because reading the forum on Epic's website, there seems to be a few problems with 4.20. A lot of people are having issues. And because we're at the end of our project and we're creating our cinematic, setting up our cameras, I don't want anything to break. So we're going to stick to 4.19.2. I read through the release notes of 4.20. A lot of it's mainly to do with mobile, working on a mobile. So if you're making a mobile game, that type of thing. Or maybe a console game, but we're not doing any of that. So really nothing in 4.20 for me is worth upgrading to and risking having something break. So I won't be doing that. We will stick to 4.19.2. I'm sure Epic Games will release a hotfix at some stage to fix any bugs that have popped up in 4.2. Do remember, guys and girls, if you've got any questions or anything you're not sure about, please feel free to pop into chat and ask me. If I can help, I'm happy to try. If you just want to pop in and say hello, that's always welcome. But if all you want to do is watch, then that's completely fine. Okay, just making sure everything is good to go after that week. I don't want to break anything. So my mic is unmuted, my music is playing, everything should be good. I think what we'll do to start the stream is we'll review the cameras that we created on the last stream. So remember, we were setting up our cameras, and every Monday is going to be a review of our cameras, but before we start working on new ones. So I think I'll do that. I'm just going to start with, I think, was it shot 13 or shot 14? Let's go with 13. I think it's either 13 or 14 is the latest shot. Oh no, this was a previous week, so this isn't a new one. Let's grab the new one, which must be 14. So yes, anyone watching that is new to my channel, I am creating a cinematic in Unreal of an environment and a building. We'll be going inside the building as well. I may actually cut that quick turn out when we actually start putting it together inside of Adobe Premiere. I don't like the way the camera swings really quickly like that. So for this shot, I may go to here, then I'll do a cut before this swing, and then I'll cut back to here where the camera just moves slowly again. We can look at it though when we start setting it up in Premiere Pro with the music track. We'll see which looks better. So yes, this is our camera where we move over the first terrace, and we're looking into the forest as our camera keeps moving. Let's jump to the next camera track. Okay, this one as well I'm going to do a cut on. I'm going to edit out the beginning there where it's focused on the tree, and I'll pick it up from about here, I think. So we'll just have a nice slow movement into that decorative urn that sits in the middle of the main terrace. So I'll cut this bit out where we're looking at the tree and pick it up from around about here. Okay, we've got our little seed pods floating in the air, which is cool. Alrighty, let's have a look at the next track. Okay, this is just another slow camera movement up to the steps on the main terrace. It's very similar to the last camera shot. Again, I'm creating more cameras than I'm actually probably going to need in the end that I'm going to use. I'd rather have too much than too little. So even though this is a similar shot, we may use it, we may not. We'll wait until we get to Premiere and start putting it all together, and we'll make a decision then. Okay, so again, same, looking at the main terrace there. Let's look at shot 17. Now, shot 17 is the one where we actually do the rotation all the way around that central urn. Again, I'll let it play through a couple of times so we can get a good look at it. No, I did realise, because you guys know I don't monitor my stream while I stream, but I do check it when the countdown is on. And I did notice that we don't have transcoding today, which we normally do, but as an affiliate, you're not guaranteed transcoding. So I did notice that it wasn't on today. We can only watch me in source, which is at 1080p, 30 frames a second. Hopefully when I stream tomorrow, we'll get transcoding back. It may just be because I was away for that week and it hasn't kicked back in yet for Twitch. So yeah, this shot, we're just zooming around our main urn here, and then we're focusing in on the dog rose bush at the top. Again, we've got our nice seed pods floating in the air there. I went a bit overboard with the seed pods. I think there's about everywhere in the level. And again, because normally with this sort of camera shot, you'd use a spline, a circular spline, so you get a nice smooth, a nice round movement. Unfortunately, you can't really do that in Unreal with their camera, so you've got to do it by hand, which isn't terrible, but it does mean that we're not going to kick it, because we've had to do it by hand. It's not as centered as it would be if we used a circular spline. But like I say to you guys all the time, a little bit of imperfection is always a good thing. It helps make things look a little bit more realistic, particularly modeling and texturing. That's what I'm referring to there. But also for camera stuff, it can look a little bit more interesting. A lot of times studios will actually introduce a bit of camera shake so that everything doesn't look quite so perfect. Smurfberry Barbecue, good to see you. How are you, Smurfberry? Did you have a good week, a good weekend? I know it's been about a week since I saw you guys. Like I said, I couldn't stream last week. I couldn't read my screens. It was just terrible. And yes, it's one of those things, like I said, that you don't realise how blurry things have gotten until you can see clearly again. So, but it's good to see you, Smurfberry. So yes, that's the shot where we're doing the spiral. It's Sniper Echo suggested around our urn and up to our plant. It could have been better, Smurfberry. Oh no, you've been in the wars. I know that feeling, yeah. Well, sorry to hear that. Smurfberry says, I'm nearly done with my freaking pistol model. Good to hear, Smurfberry. It was looking cool. I saw all the little bits and pieces you posted on the Discord server and the image that you put up. Remember, guys and girls, if you want to join the Phil Does 3D Discord, just type !Discord in Twitch chat. Or you can click on that link I've just popped into Twitch chat. Everybody is free to post links to their work on Discord. There's a gallery section there where you can post images of anything you're working on or anything you want to show all the other Phildos on the Discord server. Just remember though, don't post links in Twitch chat unless you're a sub, because you'll get timed out by Nightbot or Sniper Echo. Only subs can post links in Twitch chat, but everyone can post links on Discord. And it's good to hear you're nearly done with its Mercury barbecue. It's going to look cool. It was looking very nice. Like I said, when I saw the image of all the bits and pieces laid out for the gun, there's quite a lot of them there. I'm sure it's going to look really cool. All right, let's jump to the last camera, which is this one here. And this one is a close-up of the urn and the bench, the stone bench. Smurfberry says the box spring is going to be annoying to unwrap. Yeah, the box spring. Yeah, I can see why that would be annoying to unwrap. I'm trying to work out what would be maybe the best way to do that. Maybe cylindrical mapping. You might be able to get away with just a cylindrical map. So long as you don't get too close to it, you should be okay. And depending on the texture you're using, of course, too. That would be the easiest way to map something like that. But I could see, yeah, why it would be a problem. Another way to do those things is in Max, or in any 3D program, you create like a tube, a cylinder, a really long, thin one, straight. You map it. You do your unwrap on that, which is easy because it's just a cylindrical map. And then you just add a modifier to do it, to give it a twist, to create your spring. And that way it's mapped up that way. But if you've already made it, you could probably still try to do a cylindrical map on it. It still may work. I'm assuming, I think you're a Maya person, aren't you, Smurfberry? Are you Max? I'm away for a week and I can't remember. I think you're Maya, aren't you? And I'm sure Maya has cylindrical mapping, because Max does. Maya, yeah, I thought so. Sorry, Smurfberry. Everybody uses everything that watches the channel, which is good, because every 3D program is just as capable now. Whether it's Blender, Maya, Max, Cinema 4D, they're all very good. Smurfberry says, "Oh God, I'm never doing hard surface stuff in Maya again." I'm sure Maya's pretty cool for hard surface stuff. Although I know a lot of the people that I know that use it for animation. But it is just as good for hard surface. But I do like Max. Max is my baby, like, as you guys know. Smurfberry says, "No, it's horrible. There's no modifier stack." Oh, there's no modifier stack in Maya. Wow. I didn't realise that. Again, haven't used Maya. I played with it, but that was so long ago when I used Max, and I couldn't live without the modifier stack in Max. It's a godsend. Really is. If you want to go back and change anything in the stack, it's super simple and super easy. Modifier stack is the best thing in Max. And I'm surprised that Autodesk, because they own Maya, haven't updated it to include that sort of thing. Smurfberry says, "Every edit is destructive." Wow, that's not cool. That's not cool at all. Smurfberry says, "Once you do additional changes after whatever things you're doing right now." Yeah. Well, that's surprising. I'm surprised Autodesk haven't added some sort of modifier stack to Maya, because it is one of the things that Max, the 3D Studio Max does really well, and I use all the time. Because of course you can just turn modifiers off without deleting them if you want to make some changes, or you want to see what a change reversion would look like. So it's really, really versatile that way, and really useful. So that does surprise me. This shot here though, we focus on the urn, we move past the bench, and then we finish on the other urn on the other side. There, and we get out seed pods and shot as well. Alrighty, so that was the last shot we worked on last week, so we're working on a new shot now in Unreal. So if we have a look here at the cinematic viewport here on the left, not the perspective on the right, and I'll make some changes to rail that I've set up. This is what we finished on last week, not last week, the week before when I was streaming. We hadn't actually set it up, but I just placed the rail down and set the camera up. So if I choose my rail and I start scrubbing along, let me read Smurfberry's message here. Smurfberry says, "So you're doing a bevel, for example, you can modify it after you apply it to change its size." Okay. and experiment with different bezel sizes, but once you do additional things to the model after that, then the bevel is pretty much set in stone. If you try and go back and to change the bevel, because you can still do that, it is there in the construction history, the model explodes. Wow. Well, that's annoying. If it's still there, but if you make any changes, your model explodes. That's pretty bad. Although you have to be careful of max too with some modifiers. Not every modifier, if you jump back in the stack and you make some changes, sometimes you can make some weird things happen to your model in max as well. Generally though, most of the modifiers behave themselves pretty well. Smurpery says, so the construction history is a pointless feature. If you go back to change something in the history, it won't work. Well, I would have to agree. It does seem pretty pointless having a history if making any changes completely stuffs up your model. Yeah, bummer. Like I said, even Max's modifiers, some of them can actually cause problems if you jump back as well and make a change. Generally, 90% of the time it's okay, but a couple of the modifiers, if you make changes too early in the stack, will mess up your model. So, yeah, it can happen in Max too. Less likely, but it can. But that's really annoying. I could see how that would be mega annoying. Hopefully Autodesk will maybe add some sort of modifier stack to Maya, because they're still developing both programs. All those people that say spread doom and gloom saying, you know, Autodesk are going to kill Maya or Autodesk are going to kill Max, they're not going to kill either one. They both serve very different markets and they're both very popular. So I don't see Autodesk cutting off their nose to spite their face by getting rid of either one, because it makes them money. And, you know, if it makes them money, they'll keep developing them. I know that Autodesk have done a lot of integration of Mudbox into Maya. So, Sniper Echo, I can see that message. Now I can see you, and I can see you, and I can see you. I can see you all. Crystal clear. It's good to see you, Sniper Echo. Like I say, I didn't realise just how clear things could be. Because it comes on gradually. You don't really notice that you're having a problem with things getting blurry until it gets to a certain stage where things just become unreadable. If I look down, yeah, even though my eyes are not that bad, I only need them for the computer screens. I can see everything else perfectly well without glasses. But it's the computer screens now that I can't read the screens without them. So Smurpery says, yeah, I think the markets for both programs are way too large to kill one of them. Yeah, they're not going to kill either one. They're going to keep both going. And Smurpery says, I can see you, Sniper Echo. I'm doing really well, thanks, Sniper, for asking. I was saying earlier in the stream to the guys and girls, I couldn't do any work last week. Even work, I could do no work. So it was driving me up the wall. Having my PCs and stuff right in front of me, all my technology, and not being able to use it because I couldn't read, it was driving me nuts. Yeah, it was different when I go into the woods, into that cabin, because there is no technology, so I'm not tempted. But having it all around me and not being able to use it was torture. It was absolute torture. I guess it was good in a way, because it forced me to have a break from work for a week, because I couldn't do anything for them while my glasses were being made up. So that was good, I guess, even though I was going stir crazy. Phil sees all. That's right. I do see all. I see you all. Can we see the kitchen? Oh, Sniper Echo. You get a Phil slap. Cheeky Sniper Echo. Kitchen. I guess you want to see the toilet next as well, the bathroom, don't you? Well, I'm not going to show you. I'm not going to show any of you the wonderfully beautiful kitchen that I modelled up and the exquisite bathroom that's in that building. I'm not going to show any of you. Nope. None of you are going to see it. They're going to be my little secrets. Wow. Anyway, let's get back to this camera, shall we? So I've set up a camera that's pointing actually at the main terrace. I've set it up on a rail on the outside of the terrace here. That would be nice, Phil, would it, Sniper Echo? Smurpery says, the bathroom is located in a pocket dimension that is only accessible by portal. That's exactly right, Smurpery. Because remember, when we go through the main gates here, we enter the hollow, which means you can never go back out again. You're trapped inside of this place now. No escape. And yes, there's a pocket dimension where the kitchen and the bathroom are. And unless you find that portal, you ain't going to be using the kitchen or bathroom. And that portal could be anywhere in the forest or in the building. It could be anywhere. And it moves. So. Sniper says, glad you got to have a break, Phil, even if it was forced. Yeah, no, it was good. I have to admit. It was nice to have a break because I do work quite hard, I have to say. I do a lot of stuff for the studio and, yeah, it can get tiring at times. Even though you guys know I love 3D, I couldn't imagine doing anything else. It is my passion. It is good to have a break. So, yeah, it's just the fact that not being able to use something when it's right in front of you, you know, the temptation is there, but you can't use it because I couldn't read the screen. Sniper says, really, Smurf, very good. Goddamn, in the mod, and it wasn't ever told. That's right. Canu, good to see you, Canu. How are you? I hope you're well. How's the job search going, Canu? Are you hanging in there? You got to, you know, applying for positions and stuff? Again, anyone that's not familiar, Canu was studying game design, I believe, when he popped into my stream earlier, a few months ago, and I think he's looking for work now, so it's good to see you, Canu. What were we talking about? Oh, that's right. Yeah, and I even manage. I can work at 100% DPI now. In the Steam Labs chatbot, I had to up my DPI resolution for the text for chat to like 150% or something, so I could read it. The same for Discord, but they're all back to like 100 now, so I can read everything without a problem. You're still applying, Kenny? Well, you hang in there, okay? Don't get discouraged. It can be discouraging, I know. You just have to keep applying for different positions, though. And like I said, even just cold call emailing companies you might want to work for. And if you do go for interviews and you don't get a position, don't take it to heart. Don't take it personally. It's just, you know, the way things are when you look for work. It happens to everybody. So you hang in there and you keep applying. You've done your training, so you're good in that regard, and I'm sure you'll get a job. You're still applying. It's good to hear. And that goes for anyone that wants to get into, well, that goes for anyone working in any field, really. You're going to apply for positions that you're not going to get. It happens to all of us. And it's important not to try and take that personally. And I know it's easier said than done because, you know, you do take it personally when you don't get a job, but you shouldn't, because it's not a reflection on you. It's a reflection on the company and the applicants that the company thinks is best for that job. And it could just be that somebody applied that was better in one field than you, perhaps. So don't take those things personally, or try not to.
Are you ready?
Yeah. No, you hang in there, Canu. I'm sure after seeing the quality of your work, you will get a job. I'm sure of it. So yeah, just perseverance. That's the key. And I know a lot of people say, oh, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And that's true to an extent, but not really. You could never know enough people to fill positions that are in design or 3D, because there's just so much work around. Studios always needing people, because people move between studios all the time as well. So don't get discouraged. You will find work. Like I said, I've seen the quality of your work, Canu, and it's incredibly good. So I'm sure you won't have a problem. Smurpery says, one of the first jobs I applied for I didn't get because the other guy was bilingual. Had to look at that twice. Well, yeah, that's right. It could just be a fact of the matter is that the studio or the position, maybe they've got a certain thing that they want done, and this person shows up that can do that exactly or has done that exactly for like the last 5 years. Those sort of things. So that's why you shouldn't take it personally, because it just boils down to, and it's even really on the whim of the person interviewing you too, or the people, depending on how many people are interviewing you. So yeah, don't take it personally. Try not to take it personally, please. I know, like I said, it's easier said than done, because there's been jobs that I've applied for and I haven't gotten. And you don't feel great. You don't. You think, well, I could do that job. Why wasn't I hired? It's just that they found someone that was a better fit for that role. That's all. So you pick yourself up and you keep applying. Smepper says, the company didn't tell me this. Well, that doesn't help. It didn't tell me this, of course, but the other candidate happened to go the same school as me. So when he got it, I found out. Okay, yeah. Well, it doesn't help if you're going for a job and they're looking for something, then they don't tell you that they're looking for that. That's pretty shitty. If they're advertising for a job, they should make it clear all the things that they'd like. But again, it could just be that this other guy was bilingual and they thought, well, that's an added advantage for the position. So maybe they may not have originally wanted someone bilingual, but the guy showed up and he was, and they thought that would be great. So yeah, and so that sort of thing happens too. Like you can go for a job as a texture artist, and you're really good at texture art and all that sort of stuff, but somebody else applies for the job for the texture artist job, but they can also model, or they can also animate a bit, or they can do some programming maybe, and that will be of more value to the studio. So yeah, all these little things you can't plan for, and you don't know what's going through the head of these people interviewing you half the time anyway. I mean, they don't always explain themselves exactly as to what they're looking for when you go for an interview. So anyway, let's run through this camera here. So yeah, the camera is pointing at the main terrace. It's set up on a rail, and I'm just going to move my rail around. So we start looking at the terrace. We're going to be moving across, moving down to where our marigolds are. And then we're going to keep moving forward so we can see the tree root there until we get to the base of the step. Like that. I just thought that was a good camera to give an overview of the whole terrace there, because a lot of our shots have been us moving down the path. So just to give the viewer a bit of context as to what it is they're looking at in the cinematic, we have this sort of overview shot. And there's just a couple of things I want to change here. When we hit the marigolds, I don't want it to... I can go back a little bit here. I don't want the camera to be occluded like that. I don't like that look. It's basically leaves that are really, really close to the camera that are creating that look. And while it's correct, I don't like it. So I think when the camera is here, I'm going to just move the camera up a little bit. So there's our camera there. And I can actually see the camera. Wow. Everything's not a blur. Everything doesn't look like it's been covered with Vaseline. You know that look when they used to make fun of it in the olden days with cameras. If you wanted to make somebody look younger, you'd smear the lens with Vaseline to make it all smooth. That's what it looked like before I got these specs. Everything, my screen was just, and like I said, if I look over my glasses, I can see the screen, but I can't read the words. They're just double vision, they call it. So basically what's happening, I think, is my retina, my eyes are focusing the image just in front of my retina. It's not actually hitting my retina, and that's causing like a double vision. It happens as you get a bit older. It'll happen to you as well. All you young things watching, you can look forward to having to get some glasses eventually, regardless of how perfect your eyesight is now or how perfect you think it's going to stay. It's just because the lens of your eye changes shape as you get older. And because it changes shape, it creates this problem whereby you're either long-sighted or short-sighted. So it focuses either in front of the retina or behind it, because the shape of your lens changes. So yeah, something for you to look forward to. And again, I only need them for my computer screens. I can see perfectly fine everything else. It's just things like my computer screen here near me. So I'm long-sighted. It's sort of like, it's weird to think about. When you're long-sighted, it means you have problems seeing things close to you. When you're short-sighted, it means you can't see things a long way away from you. Anyway, so let's have a look at what's going on here. I have no keyframe set up, I don't think, on my camera, no. So I'm going to start with the camera back at the 0 position here along our rail. And that angle's okay. We do have this bush here in the foreground, but that's okay. I don't mind that. It's far enough away. It's not creating just a blur in front of the screen. So we're going to select our camera actor, go to the transform, and I'm going to just add some keyframes. Again, you just press S on the keyboard is a shortcut to add keyframes, because I don't want to make any changes to the camera here. So let's go back to our rail and start moving our camera along. Along. So until we get to maybe around about here. And we'll call that, we'll go to 10-second shot. This is about halfway, so I'll say this is at 3.5 seconds, we'll say that. Add a keyframe. Oh, let me just get rid of that keyframe. I have the wrong thing selected. I want to make sure I select my camera here and add keyframe. Back to our rig. I'm just going to keep going along past that section to about here. And we'll say that's, let's make that 1 second. We can always slide our keyframes if we find they're in the wrong spot. Add more keyframes. Come on, no, you did not do what I wanted you to. You behave. Transform. Add keyframe. Now we'll move along to the end of the camera rail track. Back to our transform. Move it to the end of our timeline. And add a keyframe. Okay, now let's go back to around about the middle of that section where we're going in front of the marigolds. Let's move our rail back as well. I'm just going to move my rail back to there we go, till it's there. We're in the middle of the section where I want to change the height of the camera here between these two keyframes. So I'm going to choose my camera. And I think what I might do is just bring the camera up a little bit here. Just like that, just so I can get rid of those marigolds that were really near the camera. Select the transform and press S for the keyframe. Okay, now it's just going up and down because we haven't animated the rail yet. So let's do that. Let's go to 0, go back to the rail, take it back to 0, press S for a keyframe for the rail. There we go. Let's move to the end of our animation here, which is 10 seconds. Move our rail to the end. Just going to bring it in just a little bit. And press S for a keyframe. Now I've noticed this with the engine. I don't know if it's a bug in the engine or what. Any keyframe you place first, for some reason, overrides any keyframe you place last, which shouldn't. It should be the opposite way around. So I'm just going to remove that keyframe we placed first. Go back to 0. Place our keyframe again. Noticing it's the same here. It just sometimes does not want to record the key. No cameras have been set up inside Smurfberry yet. No, we're getting there. We're getting there. This is the last section of the entryway, the garden path. Once we've done this, we're going to move on to the pond and to the outside of the building, and then we're going to move to the inside. So I'm doing it in sort of as the camera would be passing up. I'm tackling it that way. We'll get to the building soon. Don't worry. So another sniper says, "Phil, is the backlight quality better than dynamic lighting typically?" Well, it's interesting you ask that because the exterior here is using dynamic lighting. It's not using. It's using a skylight and a directional light. And I think the directional light is set to movable. It has to be set to movable because when you've got so much foliage, so all the grass, all the trees, all that sort of stuff, baking out the shadow maps if it was set to stationary would create a huge file, and it could even crash the program because there's so much in the world for it to shadow. So even Epic Games suggests for your outside environment, your indirect light, make it movable. So that makes it dynamic. So the outside lighting here you see is dynamic lighting. So if I was to move the indirect light, it would move the sun on all the plants at the same time. The interior is a mixture of both movable and static lighting. And that does have shadow maps baked out for most of the furniture and stuff. So yeah, UE4 handles foliage a little bit differently to the way it handles static meshes inside the editor. Because all of the foliage in my level here is speed tree, Epic Games handles the shadowing a little bit differently. So it is using an indirect light for the sunlight. It's movable. The static light, I can't remember if the static light is movable or not. Generally, you wouldn't make it movable because it doesn't change that much. So I think the skylight is stationary, so it bakes the shadow map, and the indirect light is movable, so it uses dynamic lighting. So yeah, if you're making a level in your game and you're using Unreal and it's outside, you want to use a movable light as your indirect light. You don't have to, but it's going to start, depending on how big the outside environment is, it's really going to start adding up huge amounts of data for the shadow maps. And while static lighting generally looks better, dynamic lighting is coming close to looking just as good. So don't think that by using dynamic lighting you're going to reduce the quality. You can see the quality in the viewport here. It's still quite good. You can use static lighting inside a building, but not in an environment, particularly not a large environment or where you've got a lot of stuff going on. You want it to be dynamic. And that gives you the option then to in-game of changing the time of day, which is always cool. You know, if you want to make a game and you want to change it from day to night, you can do that. Which is why dynamic lighting is becoming much more popular now. It used to only be static lighting because game engines couldn't handle much of anything else, and graphics cards weren't powerful enough to handle anything but static. But now that PCs are powerful and graphics cards are powerful and consoles are powerful, more powerful, the engines can use dynamic lighting a lot more. So games use it a lot more. Let's see if we can't get this to keyframe correctly. See what it's doing? It's basically ignoring the keyframe. Let me redo this. Let's get rid of these two keyframes. Let me try and add a keyframe to the transform. So at the beginning of the timeline we're at 0. Sniper says, if you were making a game out of this world, you would need to add some dynamic lights to get the dynamic shadows from the character movement. He's asking a question. So if you were making a game out of this world, okay, you need to add some dynamic lights to get the dynamic shadows from the character movement. Yes, you do. If you have a light set to static, it's a good question. You need a movable light or a dynamic light. So when the character passed under it or near it, the shadow would change. Yeah, you would. Because static lighting is where the shadows are baked at build time. At least in Unreal. Most game engines would be the same. So you've got a static light throwing shadows. Those shadows are then baked into a shadow map, into a texture. So once the game runs, it's not actually generating anything, that light. It's already been baked into the environment. So you'd need a dynamic light or a movable light in Unreal's case, so that when the character moved around the light, the shadow changed. Yeah. Or any objects in the scene moved, and the shadow would move as well. Again, that's why you use a movable dynamic light for your environment, because particularly if you've got things moving like speed tree trees, they all move. So the shadow's changing. It would look really weird if the shadow didn't change and the tree moved. So that's one reason why you'd use dynamic lighting in your environment with speed tree particularly. But the other reason is the shadow map size becomes huge. So when the engine renders the stationary light out, if you used it, it would make huge shadow maps that use a lot of memory on the graphics card and slow the game down, because the game would have to load them into memory. So, yeah. But that's right. You would need a dynamic light or a movable light, Sniper Echo, to get your character's shadows, which is, again, why I'm using both inside the building. Some of the lights in the building are stationary. Most of them, though, are dynamic or movable. There's only a couple here and there that are stationary. Because sometimes you can get a nicer looking shadow from a stationary light because you've got control over the shadow map resolution. You still got control over that with a dynamic light because it's based on the mesh. You set the shadow quality based inside of the mesh properties. So don't think that you're going to get crappy shadows with dynamic lights. You're not. You've got full control over it yourself. Like, for instance, those stone benches on this terrace, their shadow map is set at 512 by 512. The terrace base itself, like the tile on top of the terrace, the whole terrace there is set at, I think, 1024. But things like the urns, I think they're only like 128 or maybe 256, so they're not as high. So you've got control over how big the shadow maps become based on each mesh. Okay, let's move to the end of the timeline. Let's see if we can get it to move. Let's set a keyframe. Sniper says, it seems like stationary lights are the best for both static and dynamic lights. Are the best of both static and dynamic lights. Well, that's true, because you have 3 light types in Unreal. Of course, you've got your static, which means it doesn't move. Stationary, which means it doesn't move, but it has, I think, dynamic shadowing. And then dynamic, which is fully dynamic shadowing. You've only ever used dynamic lighting? Well, again, static lighting really gets back to the olden days of when video cards and stuff weren't so powerful. I mean, they're still useful because they can optimize your level by using static lighting, because it doesn't have to generate the shadows on the fly. So it's more performance friendly to use static lights. But dynamic lights are the way to go now, because with dynamic lighting you change the time of day, the mood of the weather, all that sort of stuff really depends a lot on dynamic lighting. Very hard to do with static lighting. But like I said, static lighting is still useful because you can use it to optimize your level. It's faster than dynamic. But again, Unreal has what they call stationary, which is not as intensive as dynamic, but not as memory saving as static. So it's sort of like an in-between. That's a good way to go. But dynamic lighting, as long as you don't go overboard, dynamic lighting is probably a better way to go because it's more realistic. Lights in the real world don't stop shadow casting like a static does because it has to bake the shadow map. That's not realistic. Every light in the real world will cast a shadow if you move around it, and your shadow will move. So that's why dynamic lighting is in the long run better, in my opinion anyway. It's performance trade-off, yeah. That's right, Sniper. Because you'll get the most performance out of static lighting, provided you're not trying to static light something like an entire forest here. Then you would lose performance because the shadow maps will be huge. So using static lighting for an environment, an outside environment, is really not saving you anything. It's going to cost you more than using dynamic. But you can use them, and like that's why I have used them inside the building, just here and there. Static lights, that is. Because you can get a bit of a performance pickup by using static. Hoxie3D, thank you for following the channel. I do appreciate it, Hoxie. So thank you for following Phil Does 3D. You are. Don't forget, guys and girls, though, to join the Discord server. You can either click that blue graphic in my panels below my stream if you want an invite link that way, or just type !Discord in Twitch chat at any time to get an invite link that way too to join Discord. Because everybody can post links in Discord, but don't post links in Twitch chat unless you're a sub. It's good to meet you too, Hoxie3D. So yeah, I can see all these little coloured letters now. Yes, as Sniper just did there, you just click that link and you can get an invite link to the Discord server. There's a great group of guys and girls, Phildos as we call them, on Discord, on the Phil Does 3D Discord server. Everybody's really friendly, very helpful, and yeah. So if you've got any work you want to show up, there's a gallery section there. If you just want to chat to everyone, have at it. So let's see if our keyframe actually worked this time. And you see it still hasn't worked. It's ignoring my keyframe. So I'm going to... And again, I've noticed this with this version of Sequencer in 4.19.2. It's a bit funny sometimes with keyframes. Just got in. Cool, Hoxie. Good to hear. And I'm live every Monday, Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific. In the US is when I'm live. If you see the stream go live on a Friday and Saturday in the US at 2 p.m, that's a catch-up stream of Mondays and Tuesdays stream. So it's like a repeat of today and tomorrow's stream. Just for people that can't watch me on a Monday or a Tuesday. Just don't want to confuse anyone new watching me. If they see me go live on Friday and Saturday, I'm not usually in chat then. That's a replay of Mondays and Tuesdays stream. Just want to make that clear. Because I still notice people typing in chat when I'm not there on a Friday and Saturday. Somebody will not realise that I'm not live. And they ask a question, they think I'm ignoring them, and then they get angry. Don't get angry. Let's add this little thing here, which adds a keyframe to this property at the current animation. There we go. Current position on rail. Let's move to the end or around the end of our animation range. Let's move this to 1. Select our current position on rail. Press the S key to add a keyframe. Now you see that still has not worked. It's still ignoring the keyframes. So it gets incredibly, incredibly annoying. So again, I'm going to delete that key, that useless key that it just seems to want to ignore. This is the beginning here. Let's add a key. Okay, now it looked like it added it in the transform here when I added a key. So what I'm going to do is we're going to move to the end of our timeline, around the end. I'm going to select that camera rail rig again. I'm going to move this to 1. And instead of pressing S on the keyboard to add a keyframe, I'm going to hit that little button again. So it added the keyframe. Now let's have a look. And now our camera is moving along our rail. So just something to be aware of, it looks like with Sequencer, if you're used to using keyboard shortcuts like the S key, like we use down here for our camera to add a keyframe, when it comes to things like the rail, the camera rail rig and the camera crane rig, use the actual keyframing tool here. It seems to be the only way for it to actually work properly. So even if you select the rail and add a keyframe by pressing S, Sequencer seems to be ignoring it. It only wants to work with that keyframe adding tool here, which is actually on the rail itself. You're on the West Coast, so that's just perfect. Cool. Good to hear, Hoxie. So let's look at our cinematic viewport here, which is the one on the left. Ignore the one on the right. That's our perspective. And I'll just run through the animation of that camera here. So we're looking at the terrace. We move down to look at our marigolds on the ground here, and then we keep moving up so we can see the tree roots here until we get to the base of the step, like that. So I'm just going to play that through on a loop here so I can review the camera movement. I just noticed that that marigold is still showing up in the middle of our movement, like the one really close to the camera. I'll let it play through, and I'm sure I saw it. Yep. Just back here a little bit, it looks like. Here. Let me just use the arrow keys here to move through there. That I don't want that in the shot. It's too close to the camera. So I'm going to select the transform and select the camera. I'm just going to move the camera up just a little bit. Just like that. Now I'm going to press the S on the keyboard to add the keyframes. And let's play through again and check it. And that's better. I didn't notice anything getting too close to the camera, but I'll let it play through one more time to double check. And again, yeah, I'm setting that this camera is just to add context to our other cameras that we're going to have in the cinematic. It helps to let the viewer know what they're looking at, where they are within the environment, within the scene. And that's cool. Nothing too close to the camera, so that is good. So we can call shot, what are we at? Shot 19? Yeah, shot 19. We can say that one's good to go. In the can. Alright, let's go back to our content browser. Now, I'm just going to double check. I want to see what camera that was. I think it's shot 17. This is the one that where Sniper Echo very helpfully suggested we do a twist, a corkscrew up as we went around the urn. So I'm going to see if we can repurpose this camera again for something a little bit different. So this is the camera looking at the urn, going around and then moving into the urn. I'm going to take that camera shot, because why remake something if you can reuse something? That's the best way to go. So let's open up shot 17. I'm just going to do a save all here before I do that. So we have our context shot here where we're outside looking in at the main terrace. We have shot 17, which is the one where we're looking at the actual urn itself. Just let me get in here and turn the camera on. There we go. So this is the one where the camera looks at the urn all the way up, blah, 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 what we just saw. Let's see if we can't repurpose this for something else. So I'm going to duplicate shot 17 because I don't want to lose that shot in case I want to re-render it out again. We'll call it shot 20, that's fine. Let's open up shot 20, which should be exactly the same as the shot we just looked at. Let me turn it on. There we go. And it is. Alright. Let's see what we can do with this. So let's jump into the perspective viewport here, and I'll jump back into where my terrace is. Here we are. And we have our camera rail, and where does our rail start? I think it starts here. That's our camera there, where we're starting our animation looking at that. Let's do something a bit different here. Let's take the camera. I'm just going to delete these keyframes here. So I want to make sure I'm back at the beginning. It looks like I was not quite at the beginning of the animation there. Back. There we go. So our camera is here looking at the urn along our rail. I'm going to start by deleting the keyframes that we've got for our camera there. Select our camera, and again, remember we're looking in the viewport here, the cinematic on the left. I'm going to rotate my camera. Instead of looking at the urn in the middle, I'm going to rotate my camera 180 degrees. So we're looking back out. Select the transform, press S to add our keyframe. Again, I'm going to delete those keys. I'm just going to move my camera over. Let's find our camera. Which is here. And we'll do the same thing again. Let's rotate it back 180 degrees so it's looking out away from the interior of the terrace. Select the transform, press S to add our keyframes. Let's move along to around about here. Delete those keys. Find our camera, which is here. And rotate it out. Oh, I don't mind it actually looking at that urn. Yeah, let's sort of keep it a bit like that. Not quite 180 degrees. Select the transform, press S to add our keyframes and move along again to around about here. And select our camera and rotate it again. Might just rotate that out a little bit again so we're looking more along the seat as opposed to right on it. So it's a bit of an angle. It creates a more interesting looking shot if it's not like flat looking at you, but on more of an angle. That's always more interesting. The same with looking at things straight on or looking at them from a lower angle or a higher angle. They're always more interesting sort of cinema shots. It just makes for a more interesting composition. So try and avoid looking at things front on. Try and look at them at an angle because it creates a more interesting looking composed shot. So that looks good. Let's add a keyframe here and keep moving along. So we're going to get good use out of your spiral suggestion there, Sniper. Okay. Let's delete those keyframes. Find our camera. And there it is there. Just going to rotate this around so I can see where it is. Let's rotate it. How do we want to rotate this one? Because remember, we're always looking in the cinematic viewport on the left while I make my changes on the right. Because that's what the camera will be seeing. We can make some small adjustments to this once we've got the main camera movement set up. Let's go to about there. Press S and add our keyframes, move along to the next one. Let's delete our keyframes, our old keyframes. Where's our camera? There it is. Let's rotate it around. Android Lust, good to see you, Android Lust. Thank you for the 50-bit cheer, Android Lust. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it. I hope you're well, Android Lust. Did you have a good week? I'm sorry again, guys and girls, for last week. I couldn't stream because I had to get my specs made up. Couldn't see anything. Everything was just a blurry mess on my computer monitors, so thank you for the cheer, though, Android Lust. And do let me know if you're coming to the stream a little bit late now and you want to see the cameras we worked on, not last week, the week before. If you want to look at the video of those cameras that we worked on, let me know and I can play them for you. Okay, let's have a look at this one. Ooh, what do we want to do with this one? Now, I want to try and avoid the camera looking that way. I don't want the building to come into shot yet. Remember I was telling you guys I try and avoid using one camera movement through the entire level because you lose the ability to add visual oomph or impact, or, you know, with camera shots, as soon as you cut to it, it's a visual impact, and I want to save the building for that type of effect, for that sort of, what's the word? For that impact in the cinematic. I don't want you to be able to see it until I'm ready to show it, and then I'm going to show it in a shot that cuts to it. The same with the pond. It's more visual impact. So I want to avoid showing the building while we're at the terrace here. Andrew Lust says, I would love to watch it, but my internet is lagging. So, but yeah, again, I'm sorry, guys. We don't have transcoding today. Normally we do. Normally when I stream, I get transcoding. But maybe because I was away last week, the Twitch gods decided not to give it to me today. Hopefully we'll have it tomorrow when I stream. So, yeah, you're forced to watch me in source quality, which is at 1080p. But hopefully, like I said, tomorrow, the Twitch gods will be kind and we'll have our transcoding back. Because normally we do have it. Yeah, I know it's not fun. So yes, I want to try and avoid seeing the building there in the background for these shots. So I can either stick to that side or rotate, pardon me, the camera that way. I think I might stick to this side. So let's choose a shot that's interesting, maybe with our little little pot in the corner there and our tree. Your stream is coming through fine, Hoxie. Android Lust says, I just have trash internet. Yeah, that's the problem in Australia too. I can watch streams at 1080p. My internet's not that bad. So I can generally watch a streamer in 1080p. And again, I don't push it really high. Like, I could stream at 6,000 kilobits a second. I don't go that high. I stream at about 4,500 to 5,000. So I do knock it back a little bit, just to try and help some of you guys that maybe don't have the best internet. And I can relate because Australia's internet is pretty crap. It's getting better, but it's still pretty crap. But I can watch 1080p. Hoxie says, yeah, proper pronunciation on the Hoxie, just like Hawksy. It's Hoxie, yeah? Or do you want me to call you Hawksy? Hoxie. Is it Hoxie or Hoxie? Just like a Hoxie. Hoxie. Okay, Hoxie, yep. I'll remember. Yeah, so my apologies to anyone that is in a country where the internet's a bit rubbish. I do try, though, not to... I don't stream at the maximum I could for Twitch. I knock it back a little bit to try and help you guys as much as I can. And I stream in 1080p because I work with software here that where it's really important for you guys to be able to see what the buttons are called. If you're watching me and trying to learn something, maybe, hopefully, it's important for you guys to be able to see what buttons I'm clicking or what I'm clicking on. That's why I stream at 1080p. If I was just streaming games, 720p would probably be fine. I'd probably still stream in 1080p, but and it's also for people who watch me on a TV. Like when I watch other Twitch channels, I usually watch it on my TV. I watch Twitch on my TV. And it's a 1080p TV, so I want it in 1080p. And there's no chat. Like when I watch Twitch on the TV, I don't see chat at all. I'm just watching the streamer. So yeah, they're the reasons I stream in 1080p. Hopefully tomorrow, like I said, though, we will have our transcoding back. So Twitch gods, if you're listening or watching, please give me my transcoding back tomorrow, because normally we do have it. All right, so let's set a keyframe for our camera here and keep moving along. Okay. There's nothing to say we can't point the camera inward towards the urn at some stage. I mean, that could be interesting. Again, context, so the viewer, the watcher knows where they are within the scene, within the environment. Let's leave this keyframe pointing at that. Let's move along. I can come back and change it anyway. Let's go to this keyframe here. And again, to get that fine control of movement along the timeline, just use the arrow keys on your keyboard. Let's remove those keys. Let's find the camera. That's here. And let's rotate it back out again. And I think again, a nice angled sort of shot here looking that way. Looks cool. So let's add our keyframes. And let's move along. Delete our keyframes. Rotate our camera. Maybe along there like that. Add our keyframes and keep going. Where do I want the camera pointing here? I think they like that. Android Lost says, if I could stream, I would have to at 360p or worse. Wow, your internet that bad, Android? Well, that's a shame. Although, like I said, Australia's internet's pretty rubbish too. The government are trying to fix it, like they're rolling out what they call the NBN, the National Broadband Network, which is fibre. I'm still waiting for my connection though. I was supposed to be connected, pardon me, in October last year. And then the company rolling it out decided, which is run by the government, by the way, the company that is, Just had to put everything on hold because people were whinging about unstable connections and slow speeds, and so they put everything on hold for 9 months, and now they're telling me I'll have my connection in, I think it's March of 2019. So I won't hold my breath. I'm just going to angle this camera down a little bit. Straighten it out because it's on a bit of an angle. And let's add our keyframe. This is looking back down the path the way we've come. Let's move along. Find our camera. Let's rotate our camera. Again, let's rotate it down so we're looking down a little bit. Just making sure my camera is looking straight and not on an angle. No, I think that's fine. Let's add our keyframes. We'll delete the old ones. Let's find the camera. Where's the camera gone? There it is. We'll rotate it around. I quite like that. I like the fact that we can see through. That's where the pond is back there. So just having that bit of depth is making the shot look interesting. So let's add a keyframe here. There's our camera there. Let's rotate it down a little bit so it's facing more toward the tile and less at the sky. Maybe about there. We're almost at the end of the timeline, so let's move here. Gets a bit distracting when you can see the rail in the shot, even though it's not going to be in the final render, it's still distracting. Let's see, what sort of angle can we get here? I don't mind that, let's add a keyframe there. And jump to the very end. And delete our keys. And rotate our camera. Let's rotate it down so it's facing the ground a little bit more. Let's see, do we want to rotate it? No, actually I think I'm going to keep it facing the bench there. I think that was a more interesting looking shot. So let's add a keyframe. I'm just going to scrub back through the timeline. I'm just going to press play here and run that on a loop so I can see if there's any areas I need to make changes, small changes to. It's difficult to see because it's not running as smoothly as it should. Okay, there was a section where we were still looking in on the urn. I'm going to do it by hand, it'll be easier for me. So we're looking up, we move along. We're looking up, still moving around the terrace. So we move in front of the urn. That's... I don't know if I like the fact that that base moves in front of the camera like that. It might look cool on the final render. We're still looking out. We look at the bench there in the corner as we move around in our spiral. Past the other urn. We get a shot of the trees. Now this is where it pans back into the middle again. I don't actually like that. I want to change that. So this is the one we didn't change. So I'm going to delete those keyframes. And we're going to rotate the camera. So I need to find the camera. Where is the camera? Well, I'm going to select the camera here. It's the easiest way for me to find it. There's the camera. So let's rotate our camera around. Facing back out that way. Let's angle it down a little bit so we see more of the pond. And that looks cool. So let's add a keyframe here. Again, let's run back in our timeline. Past the urn, past the bench, past the urn. The building is here. I really wanted to avoid seeing the building. It might be okay. We're only going to see it for a split second as the camera pans across. So I don't think it'll spoil our big reveal. So that should be cool. We look at our pond. Now it looks like the camera is rotating the wrong way here. So we look at our pond. This shot here. Looks like the camera's rotated around the wrong way, so I'm going to... The buffering is killing you. I'm sorry to hear that, Android Lust. Mercury says, I wish I could stream, but my living situation doesn't allow for it. Too much noise and other people interrupting. Now, that's not good. If you want to be a streamer, and you want people to watch you anyway, you need to be in a spot where you can get some peace and quiet. Not having people yelling in the background. It's distracting. If it's your only choice, well then you do it, but yeah. I'm sorry about the buffering too, Android Lust. Hopefully, like I said, tomorrow we will have our transcoding back. Please, Twitch, give me my transcoding back. Yes, so streaming, yep. I like streaming because I like chatting to you guys. So that's what I like about streaming. It's fun to chat to you guys and girls. I'm just going to run through my timeline here before adding another keyframe. I want to see what's going on. So we're rotating back toward the building, and then we do a really weird rotation here. So, okay, now I'm actually looking at my camera while I do this. So maybe if I select the camera, you'll be able to see what's going on. If I slide my timeline back and I move forward, you see the way the camera is pointing. As I keep moving forward, the camera is rotating back toward the screen and then flipping around again. So that means the keyframe is okay. That's not cool. And that's cool, but I've got to add a keyframe somewhere in the middle here because the camera's flipping 180 degrees. Smurfberry says, when I moved in here, the internet was so bad I had to watch Twitch at 360p. Wow, I must have looked incredibly young at 360p because it would just been a blurry smear on screen. My face would have been a smear on screen. And Smurfberry says, these days it seems to tolerate 720, 180 fine. 1080, yep. Well, that's good to hear. And you got a good deal on your internet too, from memory. You told me what you were paying for it. It was an incredibly good deal. We pay a fortune for internet over here. You guys know I have two internet connections, the one that I stream on and the one that I chat to you on. So they're two separate connections from two separate companies. It costs a bloody fortune. I use it for work though too. So, Android Lust says, Smurfberry Barbecue, besides streaming, wouldn't mind making a time-lapse video for YouTube. I don't want to spend a year uploading though. Yeah, uploads can be a pain. You guys know that, my catch-up streams on a Friday and Saturday. Even though Twitch archives all of my streams, so today's stream is archived for 60 days, then it gets deleted. I still record to my hard drive at the same time, and then I take that recording, I edit it in Premiere Pro just to take out the countdown at the beginning and to take out the thank you for watching bit at the end, and then I re-upload it to Twitch. So yeah, having a slow connection, wow, because we're talking a file that's about 4 gigabytes, would take forever. So that's what the second connection's for, so my uploads can go a lot more quickly. And that's why I stream on the second connection to Twitch. Because like I said, I stream at 5,000 kilobits a second. I could stream at 6,000 because that's the limit for Twitch. They suggest 6,000, no higher. But my connection's capable of about 40,000 upload. So that really helps me when I want to upload my stuff to Twitch or to YouTube. Because on my other connection that I'm chatting to you on, which is only an ADSL connection, that's only like 12 megabits a second. That 4 gig file would take about 4 hours to upload. Whereas on my 40 gig connection, it uploads in about maybe 10 minutes. So, Smurfberry says they must have had some faulty equipment or some major bandwidth hog on the local node. Well, you guys do remember too, the subsea cable that connects Australia to the rest of the world or to the United States was cut months ago, and that affected our internet quite dramatically. You guys remember me telling you that, because that really affected the internet going out of Australia. It's fixed now, but it's not the first time it's been cut, and it probably won't be the last. But there's a new cable that just came online. I can't remember the name of it, but it links Australia and the United States directly. So even if the main cable is cut again, this new cable can take up any slack. So we should be good. We should be good, unless they're both cut at the same time. So here, the camera is pointing in the wrong direction. So I'm just going to move my timeline to around about here. Let's rotate our camera. Maybe we can rotate it down a little bit as well, because why not? And let's add a keyframe. Just going to go through my timeline here. I've noticed something that was incorrect, I think. Here. I think the I think it's the angle of the camera is incorrect. So I think it's this keyframe here. The camera needs to be rotated around a little bit. As in the camera is not sitting straight. It's on an angle. So I need to straighten it up. Okay, now there's something weird going on here as well. That's cool. Let me just look at our camera so I can... Let me just undo that. There we go. Just want to see what's going on with the camera here as we move along the timeline, because there's something not quite right. Okay, see that rotation there? There's a weird thing going on with the rotation. Rotation to here. So let's rotate our camera around. Again, it's pointing in, it should be pointing out. Add our keyframes. I can see what's going on here. The camera's doing a full 180 between here and here. So that's all fine. That's all fine. Even that is fine. It's doing a 180 here. I'm just going to delete these keyframes. Sniper says, yeah, it looks like we lost transcoding. We did. I noticed, like, you guys know I don't watch my stream while I stream. But I do put it on when the 10-minute countdown is on at the beginning to check to see if we've got transcoding and to make sure my stream is going out. I noticed then we didn't have transcoding. Probably Twitch punishing me for not streaming last week. No, I'm sure it's not. Hopefully we'll have them tomorrow. Hopefully. We mostly have them, mostly. Android Lust says, thanks for the stream, Phil. I'll try tomorrow. Hopefully I won't buffer every 5 seconds. Well, thank you for popping in and being here, Android Lust. Yep, hopefully tomorrow we will have transcoding. Let's pray to those Twitch gods. Thanks for popping in and thanks for being here, Android Lust, and thanks for the bits. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. Let's get this camera worked out. Why are you doing a flip on me? Why you do this to me? Okay, that's fine, that's fine. The same is happening to you, Sniper. I know. Having to watch me in 1080p, guys. I know. Do remember too, though, if you just want to listen to me, and you've got the Android app installed, or the iPhone app, you can turn on audio only mode. That's the lowest sort of quality you could ever get. So you won't be able to see anything, but you can still hear me, I guess. Latest to you, Android Lust 2. So worst case scenario, yep, if you just want to hear me, you can do it through the Twitch app, the Android or the iPhone app, because you can turn that to audio only mode. Then come on, Twitch, give me my transcoding back, please, tomorrow. It's here, it's rotating around. It's doing 180 rotation. That's what's going on. Sniper says, I think it's the extra frames in the stream. That's right. Because if I move through my timeline here, let's go back to the first keyframes here where we're pointing in the right direction, which is about here, so we're pointing out. But as we move through the timeline, our camera is doing a 180 rotation to face the inside again. And then as we get to our next keyframe, it's doing a 360 back around again. And that's not cool. I don't want that. I'm going to, let's try doing our rotation of our camera here again. Which way do I want to go? It's because I'm maybe rotating it in the wrong direction that it's trying to do a 180. I'm going to go, I think, this way. So let's try adding our keyframes here. Okay, so we come along. Let me move my perspective so I can see where my camera is going. Go back. Come forward. Okay, you see, look, it wants to do a 180 again. It wants to do a 180. Yeah. So that's all fine, Here, it starts to spin. I want to try and avoid having a lot of keyframes everywhere, but we'll try to add one more set. If this doesn't work, then I'll start reducing the amount of keyframes, I think. Nope, still doing a 360. You can see that, I think, with that blue line. I don't know if you can just make it out. There's this blue line here, which is my rotation. I think what's happened is I've rotated the camera in the wrong direction, so I'm going to have to jump back in the timeline. Just angle my camera up so I can see it. Okay. Don't do this. Gonna get back in the timeline. So all through here is fine. That's all fine. Forward in the timeline. That's all fine. Between here and here. I'm going to remove all these keyframes. Let's jump back in our timeline. So that's all fine. Now here it starts to want to rotate in. And then it rotates. Wow. Then it rotates back out. There's nothing to say we can't have it rotate in. I just wasn't sure whether that was what I wanted to do. Because we've got a good look at this bench a couple of times on the other side and in another camera shot. We don't need to be focusing on the second bench again. We could be looking in the interior. So we're looking out, forward past the urn, and we move our camera to face the interior of the terrace. And then we keep moving our camera to look out and around. I don't like that. I don't know what it's doing there. So let me go back. So we're facing that direction. We move forward. This is where we turn to look at the where we've just come from, but it keeps turning around too far here, so well, that's because I wanted a shot there, I think. Let me go back. Back. Here. Okay, so back. I think I might remove these keyframes. Let's move forward. That's a really crappy. The camera swims way too much. I'm just going to go back again. Yeah. Remove. I think I might remove. I like the look of that shot though. That's the problem. Just going to go back again. Move forward. We're not holding on that shot long enough anyway, so I'm going to delete these keyframes. Let's jump back. We sort of hold on the path there for a minute before our camera starts to turn back around. As we start to go up the corkscrew. And as we go up, the camera is angling down more to look at the terrace. Let me play that through a couple of times on a loop. I don't like those quick rotations. Okay, we need to fix this up a little bit. So we're starting here, looking at the trees, past the urn, past the pot, past the urn, past the bench, past the second urn, past the other pot. We get a quick glimpse of the building there. And then we have this shot here where we're looking through the trees to where the pond is. Now, I quite like the look of that shot. So what I've done here is I'm copying the keyframes. Just to slow the shot down a little bit as we get to that part of the animation. Just gives us a little bit longer to linger on the pond. So I'm just going to slide these keyframes down. Let's play through that. I'm going to render this out at 60 frames a second too when I do the final render out of the actual camera. And I'm going to do that so I can get it to slow down, because I have a feeling if I let this render out at 30 frames a second, we're going to get a lot of movement on the camera too quickly during the shot. It's just going to be a bit disorientating. But by rendering it out at 60, I can do a bit of a slow motion through it, so that should help to make it less jarring with the camera moving around so much. I'm just going to do this by hand though, because it's getting a bit difficult for me to see while it's playing in real time. So we have our camera where we move across past the first pot, past the first urn, along the first bench, past the second urn, past another pot. We get a glimpse of the building in the background. We do a bit of a hold here for a little while. It's still, the camera is still moving, but it slows down a lot when we get to this pond area here. I could slow it down even more, I think, by sliding some of these keyframes, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take these ones and slide them down, and take this one and slide it down. And let's just play through again. It helps to speed up going past the buildings. I don't want people to notice it too much. And we get to this section where it should slow down a little bit. Past the second bench. Then the camera turns to face the urn in the middle of the terrace. We go past that. Then the camera looks down the way we've come, down the path. And then we go up the corkscrew. And as we go up, the camera pans down to look down on the bench and urn. Oh, can't go past my timeline. There we go. Just fixing up my timeline here. Back to 0. Back to 0. Okay. So along. Past the first bench, past the second urn, past the building, to the pond area, past another urn, past the second bench, turn to face the middle turn to face the path, then up the corkscrew and turn to look down on the bench and the urn. The good thing about using a real-time engine to do a cinematic too is if once we render the camera out, we decide that we don't like something, it's really easy and quick for us to make some changes and then to just save out the images again. As opposed to doing a render using, V-Ray or Mental Ray or anything like that where you got to wait hours or days depending on how complex the scene is to make any changes. Just going to run that through one more time.
And live forever sweet and sound. But if I'm moving too fast for you, tell me honestly, what should I do? And if we're grooving too,
That should be cool. And that's what allowed us to reuse that that camera rig that we had set up looking in. Now we've set it up to look out. Hoxie says, Mental Ray, I remember dealing with that in school. Demo reels were a few days worth of rendering with that. Yeah. Well, it was still included in 3D Studio Max until recently, Mental Ray. It's made by NVIDIA. And until Max, I think 2017 was the last version that they included it with Max. Now they don't include it with Max because they have something called the Art Renderer, and they've got that new rendering engine. I can't remember the name of it now. I don't like it. I don't think it's great. What's it called? Anyway, they got rid of Mental Ray. You can still download and install Mental Ray if you're a Mac user, but you have to get it directly from NVIDIA now. And they made a couple of restrictions as to what you could do with it when you did get it from NVIDIA, but you can still install it. But I've never used it much. I'm a V-Ray guy. We use V-Ray at work. Hoxie says, yeah, same with Maya. Arnold is a new one. Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much. Thank you, Hoxie. Yes, Arnold is the new renderer in Max as well. So no more Mental Ray, but you can still download it and install it if you want, if you're a diehard Mental Ray user. But again, I don't like Arnold either. I don't think Arnold is ready for prime time yet. It's still a bit developy. But V-Ray is the one that I use, and because that's what we use at work. So, and I love V-Ray. V-Ray is great. Arnold, that's right, Smithray. Yeah. I was never a big user of Mental Ray. Not that there was anything wrong with Mental Ray, but I use V-Ray.
Are you ready?
I don't need to use more than one renderer, generally. And V-Ray is used a lot in ArchViz, so that's why the studio uses it. Let's do a quick save here, shall we? What I'm going to do here, if you look at that timeline, let me just have a double check this here, actually. Yeah, if you look at our timeline here, you see that we can see the urn, but we're not looking at the urn. So we need to regenerate. We don't have to. It's just a visual thing. In fact, I'm just going to do a quick save before I do change anything here. It's just a visual update that needs to be done. Because the camera is not looking at the urn now. The camera is looking out at the pond. But according to the thumbnail, it looks like we're looking at the urn. When we aren't. Now the easiest way to fix that would be just to delete it. So if I move back to 0, I select it and I delete it. Then I go back up to the camera and I add my camera cinema actor here. It will regenerate the thumbnails looking the correct way. Again, no, it's not a big deal. It's just for your reference or my references to show me what the camera is looking at what spot. Okay, that should be cool. Let's do a quick save again now that we've fixed up our thumbnails. Back to our content browser. So we did shot 19, we did shot 20. Let's create an empty shot. Let's duplicate the empty shot. And we're going to make this one shot 21. And I think this will probably be the last shot of the garden path and the terraces. Now, we're going to be moving on to the pond. So I do need one more shot of our terraces here before we get to the pond, and I want to create a shot here, I think, where we're moving forward. So I'm just going to have a camera shot maybe around about here. And I'm just going to move the camera forward to go down the path. Now we are going to see our building a little bit in this, but that's okay because I'm coming up to where I want to do a reveal on the building anyway. So I'm going to create a shot where we move down to, I want to do a cut shot where the camera sort of hits here so we can see our nice God rays, and that's like an impact shot. So I want to cut to that. So I want to avoid seeing this for this next shot that I'm setting up. But I'd like to see the tree trunk, but I don't think I can actually get to the tree trunk without revealing the pond like that. So we might not go that far. I think we'll take the camera from here, a bit back a little bit, from about here. Move the camera forward to around about, we've got some fireflies here, so maybe around about here. Let's do that. So we've got a blank setup for our shot. Let me just move back here, so about where I want my camera to be. I'm going to add a rail, because why not? And I'm going to add a cinematic camera. I'm just going to get this into position. Let's take it up a little bit more. So there's the rail, that's the rail there. That's the camera there. I'm just going to attach that camera to that rail. Okay, now we can select the rail and we can rotate it so it's looking in the right direction. Let's change our viewport camera here too. So first thing I want to do with the new camera is make sure I set it to the sensor height to 18, not 20.25, because I like that letterbox look. The other camera we just set up, actually, we may have to look at the depth of field too. I forgot about that. We may want to change the depth of field in some spots as it's moving around. But let's change this to 18. I'm going to select the rail and the camera and add them to our new shot track. There we go. Let's look through our camera. There we go. Now we can select it. I might move it back a little bit, I think. And I might move it up a bit, back a bit. Because I like the look of the sunlight on the tile, so I want to try and avoid hiding that. maybe about there. So we'll start our shot looking that way. We are going to hold for, we're going to do a still shot for say 3 seconds. So I'm going to add the current position for the rail at 0 here, so add a keyframe. I'm going to extend the rail out though because it's not long enough, so select the end, hold down the Alt key and move. Well, I think one more, so again hold down the Alt key and move again. And rotate it around to about there, I guess. We may actually pull it down a little bit as well. Okay, so we're holding for 3 seconds on this shot. And then from 3 seconds to about 8 seconds, we're going to move along the rail. Add a keyframe. And then we're going to hold for 2 seconds, it looks like. So hold for 3 seconds, move along the rail, and then hold for 2 seconds. Just a simple forward movement. Let me just play that on a loop so we can check it out properly. And that's cool. That should be good. Let's stop that. So just, yeah, simple hold 3, move for what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then hold for 2. Let's do a save all. And I think that's probably it for the terrace. I think now that we've done all the cameras for our garden path leading up to the pond, tomorrow we can start picking up from where the pond actually is and start creating some cameras for around this section of the building. So we're going to start working around the pond area tomorrow, setting up cameras through here. Remember, we do have our deer way up here too that I want to set up a camera for at some stage. We'll do a close-up of our deer. But tomorrow will be working around the pond. So that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow, but I think we may leave it there for today. Guys and girls, I do want to thank you very much though for hanging out with me and for watching. Do remember, if you're not sure when I'm live, you can look at that countdown in my stream, in my panels below my stream. That's a countdown to the next stream, which will be tomorrow, 5 p.m. Pacific. Remember too, if you want to join the Discord server, to click on that blue graphic, and you can always follow me on Twitter at PhilDoes3D because I always post when I go live. But I will be back on again tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific in the United States, and we'll pick up where we left off here and work around the pond area, setting up cameras. We're getting there, guys. We're getting there. We'll be inside the building soon. And you guys and girls, thank you very much, though, like I said, for hanging out with me and for watching. I really do appreciate it, and hopefully I will see you tomorrow. Take care.